have you eaten rice today? For centuries, that question wasn't just small talk, especially somewhere like South Korea. Rice was.
Mm.
It was fundamental.
Absolutely. The bedrock of the diet, the culture, really.
But there's this interesting article asking, have you eaten rice today? For many South Koreans, the answer is increasingly no. So let's dig into that. Is this staple, this absolute cornerstone, actually losing its place?
That's exactly what we want to unpack for you today. And it's not just about what people prefer to eat anymore. It touches on agriculture, the economy, even nutrition.
Right.
We've pulled together some really interesting sources, news reports tracking the trends, scientific papers looking at rice itself, and the alternatives.
And our mission, like always, is to pull out the key stuff, the nuggets you need to know,
Yeah.
quickly but thoroughly. You want the insights, right?
Yeah.
So let's jump in. What's actually driving this move away from rice in South Korea?
Okay, so the big headline comes from the Korea Rural Economic Institute.
Mhm.
Their Agricultural Outlook 2023 report, it flags something pretty major.
Hmm?
For the first time, it seems, per capita meat consumption that hit 58.4 kilograms in 2022 actually overtook rice consumption, which landed at 55.6 kilos.
Wow. That's a real flip. Meat over rice.
It is, and what's striking is the trend behind it. Since way back in 2002, meat consumption's been climbing on average about 2.8% every single year.
That's a consistent rise over 2 decades.
Yeah.
A real shift in how people are eating.
Definitely. And the Institute points to a few reasons for rice dipping. Things like more people just skipping breakfast altogether.
Which often used to be rice-based, I imagine.
Exactly. Plus, there's just so much more food choice available now, a huge diversification, and, a definite lean towards easy, quick meals. Think pastries, sandwiches, food on the go.
It paints a picture of modern life, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Convenience is king.
It really does. And it's not just rice falling off. The report also mentioned overall starch consumption dropped, too, by about 1.8% in 2022. So it's a broader dietary change happening.
Interesting. A wider pattern.
Yeah, and they actually predict that this trend, the rising meat consumption, is set to continue. It's not seen as a blip.
Which, when you think about it, in a country where rice farming is so ingrained culturally and agriculturally, this must have some pretty big ripple effects.
Oh, huge. And you can already see the responses from both industry and government. They're definitely not ignoring this.
So what are they doing? How are they adapting?
Well, take the big rice cooker companies like CUKO or Kuchin. They're not just about rice cookers anymore. They're broadening out, becoming more like comprehensive home appliance companies.
Ah, smart. Branching out into what sort of things?
Things like water purifiers, air purifiers, basically diversifying away from just the kitchen staple. They see the writing on the wall, you could say.
Makes sense. If your main product's demand is softening, you evolve. Are others trying different tactics? Maybe try and make rice cool again?
Sort of, yeah. There are some bakery companies in South Korea experimenting with rice-based treats, pastries, confections, that kind of thing.
Interesting angle. Like, find new ways to eat it.
It's a creative push, trying to boost consumption in new forms. But maybe the most direct action is happening down on the farm.
Right, the government getting involved.
Yeah.
Because they must be worried about a rice surplus.
Precisely. You've got regions like North Jeolla Province and Gyeongju City putting actual plans in motion to reduce rice cultivation.
Really? How are they doing that?
They're essentially paying farmers not to grow rice, offering financial incentives to switch those rice paddies over to other crops.
Wow. Paying them to switch.
Yeah, and the scale isn't trivial. In North Jeolla, they're aiming to convert over 51 square kilometers of rice fields. That's huge, like almost 10 times the size of downtown Vancouver.
Good grief. That's a massive area. What kind of money are we talking for the farmers?
In North Jeolla, it's somewhere between roughly $2,100 and $2,700 per hectare. Gwangju City's offering around $1,600 per hectare. Significant sums to encourage that shift.
That really shows how seriously they're taking this. They're actively managing the decline in demand. And this whole shift, less rice, more meat, it links up with imports too, right?
Absolutely. That's a critical piece. The sources highlighted that imports of stuff like wheat and meat hit all-time highs in South Korea in 2022.
So more Western-style diets equals more imported food.
Directly correlates. And while that's, good business for exporters, Canada's a big supplier of wheat, pork, beef to South Korea. It does bring up those bigger questions for South Korea itself.
Like food self-sufficiency, food security.
Exactly. When you rely more on imports for staples, it changes your national food security calculation. It shows just how tied a country's stability can feel to its core crops.
It really does. Okay, let's zoom out a bit, though. While South Korea is seeing this specific shift, globally, rice is still gigantic, right?
Oh, undeniably. Still the main food source for more than half the planet's population, especially across Asia and Africa. We're talking, what, 787 million tons produced in 2021 alone?
Just staggering numbers. Puts it in perspective.
It really does. And its history is just immense. Domestication goes back thousands of years, independently in Asia, likely China, and also in Africa.
Amazing longevity. And nutritionally, it's more than just filler, right? It offers some core stuff.
Definitely. I mean, primarily it's carbohydrates, our main energy fuel, but it also has protein, usually around 6 to 7% in the milled white rice most people eat.
Okay, protein too.
Yeah, and the protein itself is interesting. It's made up of different types, but the main one is called gluten. Research suggests it's actually pretty good quality, nutritionally speaking, and quite digestible.
Digestible, so good for...
Yeah, it makes it suitable even for infants or the elderly. And there's even research looking into rice protein as a potential plant-based alternative to animal protein.
Huh. Rice protein is an alternative. Didn't see that coming. Are there downsides nutritionally?
Well, yeah. Compared to some other protein sources, it is lower in certain essential amino acids. Those are the ones our bodies can't make. And technically, it doesn't dissolve well in water, which makes it a bit tricky to work with sometimes.
Yeah.
So there's work being done to improve how we extract it and make it more functional for food products. But the potential's there. Plus, things like rice bran protein, a byproduct, are already used. And crucially, it's naturally gluten-free.
Which is a huge plus for a lot of people these days. So the grain itself is valuable, but what about processing? Milling, cooking, that changes things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The milling process, which gives us white rice, unfortunately strips away a lot of the good stuff.
Like vitamins and minerals?
Exactly. They're concentrated in the outer layers, the bran and germ, which get removed. And that's precisely why rice fortification is such a big deal in public health.
Right. Adding those nutrients back in because so many people rely on rice. How does that work? Fortification.
There are a few main techniques. Dusting is one, but coating and extrusion are generally more effective. Extrusion basically means making nutrient-packed kernels that look like rice grains and mixing them in.
Okay, so you mix fake fortified grains with the real ones.
Sort of, yeah. Usually at a ratio of maybe 1 fortified kernel to 100 or 200 regular ones. The key is that with coating and extrusion, the added vitamins and minerals tend to stick around better, even after washing and cooking.
That's important.
Yeah.
And is it expensive to do?
Surprisingly, no. The estimates are around maybe 10 to 20 US dollars per metric ton of rice. Very cost effective considering the health benefits for whole populations.
That seems like a worthwhile investment. And cooking itself, does how we cook it matter for the nutrients that are left?
It can, yes. Especially for water-soluble vitamins like the B vitamins. A study looking at rice in Iran found cooking methods made a difference.
How so?
Well, comparing boiling rice in lots of water that you then drain off versus a method where all the water gets absorbed. It affected the levels of thiamine, B1, riboflavin B2, and pyridoxine B6.
Which ones were most affected?
They found B1 and B6 were more sensitive to being lost with the excess water method compared to B2. So yeah, even your cooking technique can tweak the final nutrient content.
Huh. It all connects, doesn't it? Farming, processing, cooking, eating habits. Now, if someone is looking to eat less rice or just mix things up, what are some good healthy swaps?
Oh, there are loads of great options now. You see riced cauliflower and rice broccoli everywhere.
Yeah, those blew up.
They're super low carb, low calorie, great for keto diets, gluten-free needs. Riced cauliflower, for instance, is only about 25 calories per 100 grams. Got a bit of protein, some fiber.
Gives you that rice-like texture almost. What about actual grains?
Bulgur wheat is a really good one. It's a whole grain, minimally processed cracked wheat. Cooks pretty fast, just needs boiling.
And nutritionally?
Pretty solid. Per 100 grams cooked, you're looking at maybe 350-ish calories, over 7 grams of protein, lots of carbs, but also a good hit of fiber, about 12 grams. Some studies suggest it might help with blood sugar management too.
That fiber content is key. Anything else stand out? I think I saw orzo mentioned.
Yeah, orzo. It's actually pasta, just shaped like big rice grains. It offers a decent amount of protein, so different texture still gives you that protein boost.
Interesting. So thinking about fiber again, comparing these to rice itself.
Well, white rice, having lost its bran, is pretty low in fiber. Brown rice, though, keeps the bran, so it has significantly more.
Right.
And you know, fiber isn't just about digestion. Research actually shows it affects the texture of cooked rice, too. Higher soluble fiber seems to correlate with softer cooked rice.
Softer, not tougher.
Yeah, softer and less hard or gummy. Interestingly, another component, amylose, a type of starch that seems to be linked more directly to the hardness of the cooked rice.
Fascinating. The fiber actually impacts the eating experience.
Huh.
Okay, lastly, stepping away from just food, rice means so much more culturally, doesn't it?
Oh, profoundly. It's woven deep into the fabric of so many societies. Like in Japan, the word gohan it means both cooked rice and meal. That tells you everything.
Wow, it is the meal.
Pretty much. And think of festivals. Pongal in South India is a harvest festival literally celebrating rice. The Lantern Festival in many parts of Asia often involves rice symbolically. It's agricultural, spiritual. It's huge.
Yep. And it even gets used for things besides food, right?
Yeah, surprisingly versatile. Rice husks, the outer bits get used for all sorts, brewing beer, making building materials, even generating electricity.
Electricity from rice husks.
Apparently so. And there's also work on creating biodegradable plastics from rice components. So lots of innovation happening there too.
Incredible. A single grain with such a massive footprint. Food, culture, industry, innovation. So wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear this story of rice isn't simple. It's dynamic.
Definitely. We've seen these big shifts in places like South Korea, changing tastes, economic factors, agricultural policy, all playing a part.
But we've also touched on its enduring nutritional value, the efforts like fortification to enhance it, and the rise of all these interesting alternatives.
Right, from cauliflower rice to bulgur wheat.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. As diets keep changing all over the world, what is the future for this ancient foundational grain? In our meals, sure, but also in our cultures. It kind of prompts you to think about that balance, doesn't it? Between tradition, health, and all the new food innovations constantly emerging.